What's good, everybody? Welcome into Behind the Turnbuckle. He is Big Tommy C. I am the coach. And Tommy, this week we're jumping right in because what Randy Orton said to Michael Cole on the pre-show at Bash in Berlin, it really resonated with me because you and I have spent over 45 years working in the WWE for Vince McMahon. And he said this, that everything has changed with Triple H in charge. That if he wants to have, say, see his daughter graduate or go to a birthday party or whatever it is, he can now get up to do that. Something I was never allowed to do. Do you believe the power and the what's important has shifted now inside the WWE?
Absolutely, coach. It has changed. Let's face it, at Bash in Berlin, Triple H wasn't even there. Cody Rhodes was there. Where was he? He was with his daughter
That's
going to
right.
college.
That's
Would that
right.
have happened under the old regime? No way. It's totally changed. Triple H has a whole different outlook on the whole thing with the superstars and giving them time off being with family because he's a family guy. Now we know Vince was a family guy, but was he as big as family guy as Triple H is? I don't think so. Vince treated family a lot different, as you know, the way he treated his kids while they were in the company. So it's made a big 180 turn for the better for the superstars.
Let me tell you a very, very quick story to give everybody an example of what we're talking about. Christmas Eve, don't remember the year. I'm in Salina, Kansas. It's a 3-hour drive, Tommy, from Kansas City to the nearest airport. And I get a call from Kevin Dunn. Hey, coach, need you back here tomorrow. Tomorrow's Christmas Day. He goes, I know, but we need you to shoot someone with Vince at the Titan Tower at the headquarters for Monday on Raw. And I said, what? He said, yep, but we need you here by noon. Why? So Vince can then get to Florida to spend Christmas evening with his family. So I should have said, so Vince is valuing his family time over my family time. And I know I was an announcer and just a talent, shouldn't, think I'm more important than Vince. But Tommy, that still sits with me today because guess what? My mother still brings that up to this day. She hated that I was inside the WWE because they didn't value family at all. And I hope that moving forward, they do give guys time off. Because, Tommy, if they don't take off the show, they need to allow superstars to take time off. It's important. It just is.
Yeah, and then you come back fresher than ever. And I think that's Triple H's philosophy. He's done it with Roman Reigns. He's doing it with a lot of other guys too. I mean, Randy Orton had some time off for a while, and it works because when you come back, it makes it even bigger and better than ever. Triple H's outlook and his whole feel for the WWE has totally changed from when back in the day when we were there.
There's no doubt about it. And I think when you're a professional athlete, every single sport has an off season, every single one. And that was one of our biggest bitches back in the day. But it was also like this your feet were held to the fire. And it was like, well, if you don't want to do it, guess what? I got
Mm.
1,000 people lined up that absolutely will. No matter what the job was, Tommy, no matter what it was, that was always held over us. And I always wanted to tell myself, are there 1,000 people better than me to do this job? The loyalty. And Tommy, I missed one Monday night in my first 10-year run. One. I got married on a Friday night. Do you think I missed the Monday 3 days later? No, I did not, because you were at my wedding. Your son was the DJ at my wedding. I had to go to Corpus Christi, freaking Texas, 3 days after I got married. Why? So I could then go on a 10-day honeymoon and miss the next Monday after that. I shouldn't have had to do that. I shouldn't have had to do that. Take it a step further. I come back after my ESPN 10 years, and I said to him, hey, I've got golf, 5 events already on my calendar. I wanted to keep that credibility from my ESPN days. Vince was like, cool, done. We'll have somebody step in for you. How many times did I miss Monday Night Raw, Tommy, before I got yanked? Do you remember?
No, I don't.
2.
Mm.
And I told them about it before they hired me back. And Vince got pissed, put Renee in my spot, and good for her. But to Randy's point, and this needs to be a lesson, I think, to everybody, that How many of our friends, Tommy, have passed away,
Yep.
gotten divorced, don't talk to their kids? It's a disaster when it comes to a family life. And for Randy Orton, who, when he was 19, 20 years old, was the most
Yeah.
immature person of all time, for him to say that is very telling. I hope it continues. I really, really do. Do you think that it will?
Oh, absolutely. It has to continue. Once you set this thing up the way they're doing it now, it will definitely continue. It doesn't hurt the product at all, and you see that. So why wouldn't it work? Why wouldn't it get better? I can't see them going backwards with this now that you talk about this. And it is prevalent because back in the day when we were there, even production people, we never missed a TV. We were, you always kind of ran scared like a bit. Oh, you're not going to TV. Oh, what's going on? So it was kind of crazy for us too. So I don't think it cannot go back, coach.
People were
Nope.
terrified. And I want everybody who follows us here at Behind the Turnbuckle, part of the reason we started this brand is to give you the true story about what the business is all about, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And Tommy, I remember, because I wasn't there at this point, you were, when they sold the deal to Fox. I was a big part of that in an indirect way. Vince and Kevin called me at 3 a.m. one night and they said, Coach, you got to help us. Our TV deals are coming up. We want to go mainstream, but yet we've got to show Fox or whoever else that if ESPN does it, then you can do it too. So, Tommy, out of blind freaking loyalty, I went to my bosses at ESPN and I begged them, let me do a WWE segment on Tuesday nights. They were taping Smackdown at the time. It made sense. WWE paid for everything and it was all good. And the segments were well received. We had all the big stars on the show. It was great. You remember those segments? They
Yeah.
took those segments and then they sold it for $1 billion to Fox. Nick Khan did the deal because he was a super agent at CAA. So then who ended up hiring Nick to be the president of the WWE?
Mm.
Vince McMahon. You see how all those bricks fall, but who was at the start of it? This guy. And then you're not appreciated down the road, and they forget that you answered the phone at 3 a.m. They forget that you made it happen. And now, if you go to ESPN.com, there's a full wrestling page there because it's all mainstream now. But yet, they don't appreciate that. And I'm not crying over spilled milk. I'm just saying at some point they need to recognize the people that get them there and value them. And Tommy, I would have valued way more time with my family and actually going home at Christmas
Yep.
over a minimal raise. A minimal raise. You've been through it.
I I gotta agree with you. It was a lot different back then, and it the loyalty that we gave to that company. I gave my life to that company, dude,
Mm-hmm.
and you get paid back in the end there, and you got slapped in the face with it, and which with a bunch of other guys who were loyal to that company and got booted, man. And the company just keeps going like a train. It doesn't stop. But you don't find loyal people like us anymore, folks. We were
No,
dedicated. Coach working Christmas Day, me leaving a little league field watching my kid play on a Saturday because the company couldn't afford to fly you on a Sunday, so we needed a Saturday stayover in the middle
crazy.
of the summer, leaving in the third inning to go catch a flight to Detroit, and you're sitting in your hotel room. Horrible. You missed a lot of stuff of your kids growing up and doing things. But why? We were dedicated to the product. We always put the product first.
Now, Tommy, there's going to be a lot of people out there that watch this and go, well, it was your choice. Nobody held you hostage. Nobody, you got to understand this. When you have an opportunity, and we understood it was a good opportunity, but when it's taken to the extreme, and part of the reason we're talking about this today is because Netflix is set to release a 6-part documentary on Vince McMahon. My guess is, and I was called, Tommy, full disclosure, for several things in the last 3 or 4 years. A lot of them I didn't even return the call. It's very possible that they called me for this doc. I can't be 100% sure, but I would get emails. I would get text messages, phone calls. Hey, we're doing something on Vince. We'd like to talk to you. They were even willing to drive to my house to do all the interviews. So I think I could have been a part of this. I didn't at the time. Again, blind loyalty. My fault. My fault. Because I didn't want to say anything bad about Vince. We're going to have a reaction episode to every single episode of that documentary right here. The good, the bad, the ugly. I'll take it one step further, Tommy. There was a time where Vince thought we should be in the Macy's Day Parade on Thanksgiving. They asked Michael Cole, who lived in New Jersey, hey, we need you on the float. This was like Monday of Thanksgiving week. I had a ticket to fly back to Kansas on the day before Thanksgiving. Hadn't seen my folks in damn near a year. I get a call, hey, coach, we need you on the float. Need you to stay in New York on Wednesday and be in the float on Thursday. I said, hey, I already got tickets to fly home. You know what? Here in real time, here's what happened. I already got tickets to fly home. Oh, I think you misunderstood. We're not asking. We're telling that you'll be on that float. So I had to, and they said, but we'll pick up the cost of the change of the ticket. So on Thanksgiving Day, I had to stay in the city in the Riga Royal Hotel where all the celebrities stayed, Tommy. And I'll never forget, I was out all night. I was so pissed. I partied all night. I was getting back to the hotel at 6 a.m. Hadn't been, but who's getting out at a limo at the other end of the street going to the same hotel? Vince. And so I had to duck in and I had to play it like I was just getting up, even though I probably smelled like a nightclub and, all the bathroom, colognes that you throw on. And so I walk around. Oh, hey, Vince, what's going on? Hey, pal, where are we meeting for breakfast? I said, I don't know. I just came down. I'm looking for the same room. And then I make a phone call, and I'm literally, Tommy, I'd just been drinking. I'm like, he obviously didn't even faze him, right? So then I go up, I shower, grab my stuff, and then we walk downstairs, and I'm standing next to Vince, and he used to love to have me as a buffer, I was kind of a barrier from people coming up to talk to him. All of a sudden, these two young black men walk up. Mr. McMahon, great to see you again. Oh, these guys know Mr. McMahon? And I instantly recognize them. Vince goes, hey, pal, good to see you guys too. And they go, hey, thanks again for last year. We appreciate it. Yep, thank you too. And they turned around and walked away. Guess who it was, Tommy? Boys to Men. Two members of Boys to Men who had just sang either America the Beautiful or the national anthem at WrestleMania. And Vince had no clue who they were, which speaks volumes that he doesn't even pay attention to the people that show up for him.
Nope.
He had no idea. So to cap the story off, Tommy, I have no sleep, may or may not have still been drunk, and we're riding on a float that Lillian Garcia is singing her newest single over and over and over again with the band behind us playing the trombone and drums. It was hell on earth. The parade ends. I get to LaGuardia. I fly to Dallas to Wichita. It's 11:30 at night, Tommy, on Thanksgiving Day. I still got a 2-hour drive home. A little black man taps me on the shoulder as I'm renting my car from Hertz. And he says, were you in the Macy's Day Parade today? I said, how the hell would you know that? And I looked down. He had a little pin that the celebrities wore to get onto the floats. And he goes, I was 2 floats behind you. And I said, wait a second. That was the Barney float. Barney, huge star back in the day, big show, 15 years. He goes, yes, I am Barney. I said, pardon me? He goes, I'm the person that has played Barney for all of these years. Greatest job in the world. Made tons of money. Nobody ever knew who I was. And I said, you are kidding me. And he goes, nope. And I saw you guys ahead of us, and I just wanted to say hello. He had been on both flights to Wichita. He was there because now he was a minister, and he was guest hosting and preaching at a church in Wichita, Kansas. The same church, Tommy, that I went to when I started my career at Channel 10 in Wichita a few years before that. All true.
That is unbelievable. And by the way, I remember you had to do that.
Yeah.
I remember you told me about it, and I remember. And and it was cold. I remember it was really cold that day, and I'm like, "That dude is gonna freeze his
Freezing,
ass off." Yep.
freezing,
But you were
freezing.
there, and they showed the float, and you're waving, and then you're you're hearing that Lillian Garcia. Man, you wanna talk about a headache and a hangover. Holy Christmas.
And it was her big break, Tommy. Remember,
Yeah,
everybody becomes a pop star at 42 years old. I mean, don't they?
yeah.
Don't
Yes, of
they?
course. Yeah.
Oh my God! After like the 8th time that she sang her new single, I was ready to jump off into traffic. I mean, it was brutal,
Oh,
brutal. Oh my gosh!
things you do.
Wrap up this episode. What do you expect to see in this documentary? 6 parts. 6 parts. What do you expect?
I don't think they're gonna show the chairman in a very good light at all. I think they're gonna, and it's really weird because why would you do that? The guy who created the company that you're paid $5 billion for, that's gonna air on your stream, Netflix, and you're gonna bury the owner who created all this? I just don't get it. But I don't think it's gonna show him in a very good light and what they're gonna say about him and hearsay about this. So I think they're gonna take their liberties on this because I'm not sure WWE has rights to any of that footage at all. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens when it comes out.
I think that what they're going to do has changed since they originally were going to do this, because to do a 6 part series, that takes a year, year and a half in the making,
Mm,
right? And I think that Vince has only been gone, what, a year? I don't have all the dates correctly.
yeah.
But I also think this, because there's a lot of layers to this, and really wealthy people can be very, very petty. And I know that at one point Vince sold a lot of stock, and that can affect the stock price for TKO. That, excuse me, that ultimately can lead to other guys not making as much. And again, I haven't delved enough into that, but when you're dealing with money and stocks and all of that, that could play into all of this, because now TKO, let's be honest, Tommy, they run the WWE. It is not
Mhm,
two companies. It is TKO. They run the UFC and the WWE, and they've had the UFC for years. So they're
mm.
already in business with them. This is bringing a cash cow into the fold. So I think that's part of it. I just want to see, before we comment, exactly what it's going to be. Exactly what it's going to be. But it's going to be a game changer. And really, I think it'll put a bow, not a bow, but it'll put an ending to the Vince McMahon era, which ultimately, no matter how you feel about him, Tommy, there's been a lot of falls from grace in a lot of different businesses. But this one, because it's entertainment company, and because he was such a bigger than life figure, to me, it's one of the saddest endings to a
Mhm.
career and a life that you could ever have.
I totally agree. The his one aspect, and while we were there, he always wanted us under one roof, the whole company. There was 3 different buildings, as you know. It was our TV production, the corporate office, and then they had the digital building later on. He never got to see that because now they're all in one building, and now he
Mm,
can't even step foot in that building at all. That's the travesty.
it really is.
And what, it's going to be interesting because our comments are going to be the best because we were there. You were in the meetings with Vince. I was with Vince for all those years. So we're going to see what's truth, and we're going to tell you what's truth and what's bullshit because
That's
there's going to
exactly
be
right.
some bullshit in there.
Yeah, there's
So,
no doubt. There's no doubt.
yep.
We encourage you to subscribe to this channel, because the reason, and I keep saying it, that we started this is to give you guys a realistic look at the world of pro wrestling that you love. And there's a lot of good with that, obviously. There's a lot of bad, there's a lot of history, and we were over 45 years of that history. And we want to give it to you and give it to you straight. That'll do it for this episode. For Big Tommy C, for producer man, I am the coach. We'll see you next time right here on BTT.